Jace locked up his repair shop for the night. The neon lights of the small alien town buzzed above his head. He stretched his arms, ready to go back to his small one-room apartment above the garage. Just another boring day, he thought. Fixing hover bikes, charging old droids, and drinking cheap soup. Nothing ever changed in this dusty border town on planet Caro 7. But tonight, something strange happened. As he turned to walk, a figure came running down the alley. Her hood covered her face, and she held a small child close to her chest. She stopped right in front of him, breathing hard, eyes wide with fear. "Are you Jace?" she asked quickly. "Yeah," he answered, unsure who she was. She looked around, making sure no one followed her. Then she pulled out a small pouch and pushed it into his hands. Jace opened it. Inside were shining credits, more than he made in 2 weeks. "I need you to pretend," she whispered. "Just for one day. Pretend to be her father." Jace blinked. "What?" She looked at the child, a little girl no older than 5, with silver eyes and soft blue skin. She held Jace's shirt tightly, as if she already knew him. "They're coming for her," the woman said. "If they think she has no father, they'll take her. But if you say she's yours, they can't. Please, I'll pay more if you want." Before he could reply, the sound of a hover cruiser echoed nearby. The woman pulled him inside his shop, locking the door behind them. She ducked behind a shelf, holding the child close. Jace looked through the window. Black cruiser marked with military symbols slowly passed by. 2 officers inside scanned the street. Jace's heart beat faster. He had no idea who this woman was, but she was clearly in danger. He turned to look at the child. She stood near the counter, staring at him with those silver eyes. She looked tired, dirty, and scared. Her little hands trembled. "All right," Jace said softly. "I'll do it. I'll pretend." The woman stood up quickly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Just for tonight." Jace nodded, even though his mind was full of questions. Who were they running from? Why pretend he was the father? Why him? He made them tea, offered a blanket, and let them stay in the small storage room. The woman didn't say her name, and the child didn't speak at all. Jace sat in the main room, thinking. This could be dangerous, he knew. He didn't even know if she was a criminal. Maybe he just got pulled into something bad. But when he looked at the child hiding in the blanket, something tugged at his chest. The next morning, the town felt different. Jace woke up early and found the woman making breakfast in his small kitchen. She had removed her hood. She had soft purple hair and glowing skin. Beautiful, but tired. Her eyes were sharp and watching everything. "I'm Ziva," she said finally. "And her?" Jace asked. "She's Leary," Ziva said. "She hasn't spoken in weeks." "What happened to her real father?" Jace asked. Ziva looked down. "Dead, and now they want her back because of what she carries in her blood." Jace frowned. "Who are they?" "People from my planet. Royals, hunters, elders. I escaped them. But if they take her, they'll use her." Jace didn't fully understand, but he believed her fear. She looked like someone who had been running for a long time. And the child didn't look like she had smiled in months. Later that day, as Jace worked in his shop, a local inspector walked in. He looked around with suspicion. "Heard you've got guests," the officer said. "Got the papers for them?" Jace swallowed and nodded. "She's my daughter," he said, surprising himself. "And that's her mother. They're staying here for now." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Didn't know you had a family." Jace forced a smile. "Long story? Life's full of surprises." The officer left after a few minutes. Ziva stood at the door, listening. "You did good," she said. Jace sighed. "This isn't going to be just one day, is it?" Ziva looked down. "I didn't lie to you, Jace. I said I'd pay, and I will. But I can't protect her alone anymore. You helped us once, and now we're in your story too." That night, Jace watched the child as she quietly drew shapes on a metal panel. 8. Still hadn't spoken, but she smiled once when he gave her a soft plush toy. Something warm stirred in his chest. He didn't know what would happen tomorrow or who would come knocking, but for now, he knew one thing: he wasn't just pretending anymore. Jace wasn't ready to see his face on the town's registry screen that morning. As he stepped out to buy food, a local vendor smiled and said, "Didn't know you got married, Jace. Congratulations." Jace froze. "Excuse me?" The vendor laughed and pointed to the public announcement board near the corner wall. A hologram flickered above. It showed a new family registration. Citizen Jace Kellen bonded to Ziva of Clan Saren. And legal guardian of minor Leary Kellen. His mouth went dry. He dropped the bag of fruit and ran back to his shop. Sva was feeding Leary, calmly peeling a soft, red root. She looked up and said softly, "I had to register us. It was the only way to protect her." Jace stared at her. "Use my name? My ID?" "I had no choice," she said, standing up. "The inspector would have come back. This town runs on records. If Leary had no father listed, they would take her." Jace's heart pounded. "I never agreed to be your husband." Ziva walked closer, voice steady but full of pressure. "It's only on paper. You don't have to act like anything. But this lie is the only thing keeping her safe." He looked at Leary. The child's eyes watched him carefully. She wasn't crying, wasn't afraid. She trusted him now. Jace let out a long breath and rubbed his face. "This is getting worse every minute." Ziva held out a small card. "There's more credits. I'll leave once it's safe. Just hold this roll a little longer." But something in Jace had already shifted. He didn't want more credits. He wanted answers. That evening, the town council sent a message. If Jace and Ziva were now registered as bonded, then for full legal status, they needed to attend a union verification. That meant standing in front of elders and proving they were a real couple. It's not just a name on a form. They'll ask personal questions, Ziva said. They'll scan for emotional bonding, eye contact, shared history. It's how they detect fraud. Jace couldn't believe this. He was a mechanic. He fixed things, not played pretend in front of alien judges. But Ziva didn't panic. She sat with him in the back of the shop and started telling him everything about her past, how she escaped the capital city. How her family turned against her when she refused to give up her child, how she crossed 5 sectors just to reach this town. She told him about Leary's sickness when she was younger, and how only human medicine saved her. As she spoke, Jace noticed something. Her voice trembled when she talked about being alone. Her hands shook when she remembered sleeping under broken ships in the cold. This wasn't just a lie anymore. He found himself speaking too about losing his parents in a mining accident, about growing up with machines instead of people, about how no one ever asked him how he felt. They sat for hours talking like old friends, and that night, for the first time, Leary walked over to Jace, placed her small hand in his, and whispered a word. "Daddy." The day of the verification came fast. The council building stood tall in the town center. Inside, 3 alien elders sat with glowing eyes, scanning every motion. Jace and Ziva stood close, holding hands. Leary sat quietly in the middle. One elder spoke. "Explain how you met." Jace didn't look at Ziva. He just started speaking. "From the heart?" "She came into my shop running, scared, carrying a child like her world was on fire, and I believed her. I saw something in that kid that I couldn't walk away from." "Do you love her?" another elder asked. Xavier answered. "First, he saved us. Never thought a human would care. But he did." The third elder leaned forward. "Show us what binds you." Ziva slowly reached for Jace's hand and rested her forehead on his chest. It was a silent gesture from her culture. Jace didn't fully understand it, but he placed his hand over her head, holding her gently. The room was silent. The scanners flickered blue. Then the lead elder spoke. Verification passed. "You are now a legally bonded family." Outside the building, Ziva looked at Jace. Her voice was quiet. "You didn't have to say all that," Jace shrugged. It was the truth. She smiled for the first time since he met her. They walked back slowly, with Leary holding both their hands. The streets were quiet. The stars were out. But in the shadows behind an old tower, 2 red eyes blinked. Someone was watching. Jace didn't notice. But far away, on another planet, a message was sent. Target located. The child is with a human male. Prepare retrieval. The clinic lights flickered as Jace sat beside Leary, holding her hand. A soft scanner passed over her arm, glowing with pale blue light. Ziva stood near the door, arms crossed, looking like she wanted to run. Jace leaned toward her. You sure about this? She didn't answer. Her jaw was tight, her eyes locked on the medical drone. The town's council had approved their bond as a family, but someone on the board still asked for a paternity check to confirm the human father claim. Without it, their registration could be flagged as false. If that happened, Ziva would lose custody of Leary, and both of them could be deported, or worse. Ziva had begged the nurse to fake the records. But the system didn't allow manual edits. Only DNA could decide. I'll handle it, Jace had said earlier. Let them test me. Now he was starting to regret that offer. The results were ready in under 10 minutes. A holoscreen lit up with 2 profiles Leary's on the left. Rows of numbers and letters filled the space between them. The nurse blinked. That can't be right. Zeva stepped forward. The nurse turned the screen. Says there's a 97% genetic match. Not just similar, that's like direct relation. Like real father and child. Ziva stepped back, eyes wide. No, that's impossible. Jace stared at the screen. He didn't understand most of it. But one word kept flashing, confirmed parental match. That doesn't make sense, he said slowly. I've never even met you before last week. The nurse scratched her head, unless someone messed with. The results? This is accurate. We ran it through 3 scans. Zeva looked shaken. Her hand trembled as she backed into the wall. Leary looked up at Jace and smiled softly, unaware of the storm breaking around her. Back at the shop, Zeva paced across the room like a caged animal. You're not her father, she whispered. You can't be. I know who her father was. Died during the escape. He wasn't human. Jace sat down, head spinning. Then how does this make sense? I don't know, she said, shaking her head. Unless. No, it's not possible. What? Jace stood. Say it. Ziva looked at him. A long time ago, my clan experimented with human DNA. They wanted to mix it with royal blood, to create something stronger. But the project was cancelled. The samples were destroyed. Or they were supposed to be. Jace felt his stomach drop. Are you saying I'm part of that experiment? I don't know, Ziva said, voice shaking. But if you are, someone has lied to both of us. That night, Jace couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything. His childhood memories were a blur. He had grown up in a colony home after his parents died in a mining accident. He never saw their bodies, just a message saying they were gone. No real proof. No pictures. Now he wondered if they were even real at all. Was he created? Had he been placed on Earth for a reason? He looked over at the small room where Leary slept. She looked peaceful now. She called him Daddy again today, and this time he didn't correct her. Maybe blood didn't matter. But if what Ziva feared was true, then someone was watching all of them. It's waiting to use that blood for something dangerous. Early next morning, a message arrived on Jace's repair console. Encrypted. No sender name. One of us. The child is the key. Protect her. Jace stared at it. Who sent this? He asked. Ziva walked in, holding a steaming cup. She looked at the message, and her face turned pale. I've seen that symbol before, she whispered. It belongs to the old bloodline, the true royals, the ones who vanished after the war. What do they want with me? Jace asked. They don't want you, she said slowly. They want her. But they might need you to activate her. Jace's chest tightened. Activate. Ziva nodded. Leary was born with something ancient in her, sleeping power, a key buried in her blood. But no one has ever awakened it. Maybe that's why they created someone like you. Jace stood up. The This is no longer about pretending. I'm not walking away from her. Iva looked at him for a long time. Then she whispered, "Then we run. Now, before someone else wakes." Up that key for the wrong reason. And just like that, the story changed. Jace wasn't just pretending to be a father anymore now. He might be the only one in the galaxy who can protect her, not because he chose to, but because fate made it so. Asterisk the sky over Karo 7 turned orange with smoke. Jace woke to the sound of glass breaking. The front of his repair shop was shattered, sparks jumping from the alarm panel. His heart raced. He grabbed the wrench under his bed and ran to the hallway, where Ziva stood barefoot, clutching Leary to her chest. "They're here," she whispered. "How do you know?" "I saw their eyes." The street outside was empty, but Jace felt it, something watching, something waiting. He looked up toward the rooftops and saw it. A drone with a crimson core, hovering silently, marking their location. Ziva pulled him. "Back inside. That's not from the council. That belongs to the Soren Hunters." Jace had only heard that name once. Mercenaries from Zeva's homeworld, paid to track royal blood across the stars. They didn't care about laws, only capture, only the bounty. The three of them packed quickly. Jace grabbed a plasma torch, his tool bag, and 2 oxygen canisters. Ziva slipped her old data chip into her wrist pad and tied a scarf around Leary's head. The little girl didn't cry. She held on to her mother, quiet and still, like she understood everything. They escaped through the back alley, slipping into the shadows between old buildings. But they weren't alone. A figure dropped from a rooftop with sharp claws and glowing armor. Jace swung the torch fast, striking the attacker's shoulder. Sparks flew. The hunter growled and charged. Xavier kicked. The creature hardened the chest, but it didn't fall. Leary screamed. Jace grabbed a canister from his bag and smashed it open. Gas burst out, blinding the hunter for a second. "Run," he yelled. They made it to the old cargo tunnels beneath the junkyard. Jace had used them once to hide smuggled machine parts. Now he used them to keep his new family alive. Inside the dark tunnel, Ziva leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her arm was bleeding from a cut. Leary sat beside her, trying to stop the blood with a cloth. Jace lit a small lamp and whispered, "We can't stay here long." Ziva shook her head. They must have tracked the DNA results. "That's why they found us now," Jace thought for a second. "Then they know I'm the key too. They'll take both of you," she said, "and kill me." Jace sat down across from her. "We need to leave the planet." Ziva looked at him. "With what ship?" "We don't have clearance. We don't have a name anymore." "You're a marked man now," Jace smiled slightly. "I know someone who owes me a favor." The next morning, they snuck through the industrial zone toward the port. Everything was quiet, too quiet. Jace didn't like it. He walked with a hand on his tool belt, ready to fight again. They reached Dock 9, where an old smuggler named Hax was loading cargo into a rusted freighter. "Hax," Jace said, "I need off this rock." 3 seats. Hax raised an eyebrow. "You brought heat with you. More than you can handle." The smuggler looked at Ziva, then at Leary. "She's marked," he said. "So is that kid. Royal seal in her blood. Anyone scans Hershey light up every alarm in the quadrant." Jace stepped forward. "I'm not asking for free." Hax looked into Jace's eyes and saw something new. Not just desperation, a reason to fight. He sighed. "Load up fast. You've got 20 minutes before patrol cycle again." He almost made it. As the freighter engines roared to life, 3 dark ships descended on the port like vultures. Soren hunters dropped down, armed with arc rifles and net guns. The smugglers' guards fired back, trying to buy time. Jace shoved Ziva and Leary up the ramp. "Go. I'll hold them." "Don't be stupid," Ziva shouted. "They'll kill you." "I won't let them take her," he said, then turned. Jace fought like someone born for war. He swung a steel pipe, dodged shots, and slammed a hunter into a power coil. The hunter shrieked and fell. Then another one grabbed him from behind. Jace felt a needle press into his neck. Soft hiss. His body went cold. He dropped to his knees. "Target secured," the hunter said. "We have the father." But then the impossible happened. Leary screamed, and the sky changed color. From inside the freighter, Ziva saw her daughter stand at the ramp's edge. Her eyes glowed bright silver. The hunter holding Jace paused. Every machine nearby froze. Lights flickered. Engines stopped. Time felt heavy. Ziva pulled Leary back, wrapping her in her arms. Jace fell to the ground, gasping. The hunter collapsed, his armor smoking. Jace looked at the little girl. What did she just do? Ziva's voice shook. She unlocked something. The smuggler shouted from the cockpit. We gotta go now, or we're all dead. They lifted off as more enemy ships entered orbit. Jace held Leary in his arms, his pulse still racing. He looked at Ziva. They'll never stop now, will they? Ziva whispered. No, but now they know what she can do. They'll be afraid. The ship flew through silent space. But inside it felt like a storm. Jace sat on the floor of the cargo bay, holding Leary close to his chest. She was unconscious, breathing steady but slow. Her little hands were warm, and her heartbeat was strong, but what she had done back on the port, no one could explain. Machines froze, weapons shut down. Even the hunter collapsed just from her scream. Ziva watched her daughter, terrified and amazed. She's never done that before, she whispered. Never even knew she could. Jace looked up at her. But you suspected, didn't you? Ziva nodded slowly. Her blood was always different. The royal doctors said she carried dormant energy, something ancient. They called it the vault. Key, vault to what? Ziva sat down beside them. A ship, weapon, a memory bank. No one really knows. The vaults were sealed before the Great War. Only someone born from both bloodlines could open one. Jace's heart thudded. Bloodlines? Royal and human. They both looked at Leary. Jace was no longer a pretend father. He was the final piece in a mystery others had killed for. The ship landed on a forgotten moon, Braxel 3, covered in ash and full of caves. It was used by smugglers and exiles. Hax, the smuggler captain, gave them an old shelter near a broken power tower. It was dusty but safe. Inside the shelter, Ziva brought out a strange object, flat like a disc, carved with alien symbols. She touched its edge, and it glowed faintly. Leary stirred in her sleep. Jay stepped closer. What is that? It's a vault compass, Ziva said. It activates only in the presence of the key. The disc spun slowly, then pointed toward the north ridge. Ziva looked up. Is something buried under that mountain? 8. The next morning, they made the climb. Jock carried Leary on his back. She was awake, but weak. She clung to him silently, her head resting on his shoulder. Followed, scanning the path with a sensor tool. Rocks shifted and winds howled, but the compass kept pointing forward, near the top. They found a tan, ancient metal door, half buried in stone. It was covered in vines and dust, but the seal in the center glowed faintly. Ziva placed the compass on the seal. It clicked, then rotated, and the ground rumbled. A voice echoed from deep below. Key recognized. Awaiting activation, Ziva whispered. Leary has to touch it. Jace bent down and held her hand, guiding it toward the center. Her fingers brushed the sealand. The entire mountain pulsed with light. The door opened. Inside was a hallway made of black stone and glowing lines. The walls shimmered with memories, flickers of battles, stars exploding, children running, and voices speaking in languages long lost. Leary walked ahead, her steps confident now. Ziva and Jace followed silently. At the end of the corridor stood a round chamber with a floating crystal at the center. It was alive, glowing, and spinning slowly. Ziva fell to her knees. This is it. One of the original vaults. Jace looked around. What's inside it? Knowledge? Power? Defense? Everything the old empire tried to hide before they destroyed each other. Leary walked to the crystal and placed both hands on it. A wave of energy passed through the room. The walls lit up with her memories, her first steps, her tears, her hiding, her voice saying Daddy for the first time. Then it showed something else. Jace saw an image of a lab. A man who looked like him was speaking to a group of alien scientists. We designed the hybrid, that man said. She will not be ready without the Guardian. You've already chosen him. He'll grow up safe, far away. When the child is old enough, they'll find each other, Ziva gasped. Jay stepped back. That's my father, he said. The vision faded. Ziva stood beside him, her voice shaking. You were made to protect her, not just by fate, by design. Jace felt his knees weaken. So I'm not real? You're more real than anyone, Ziva whispered, because you were made with purpose. Suddenly the vault walls darkened and alarm pulsed through the floor. The crystal dimmed. Then a voice spoke again. Unauthorized presence detected. Hunters inbound. Jace grabbed Leary. They followed us. Ziva checked her wrist pad. They hacked the compass. Traced our path. Outside, the mountain. 3 dark ships were landing. We can't fight them here, Ziva said. Jace looked at the glowing crystal. Then we use what's inside. Lo, he stepped forward, placed his hand on the crystal. It scanned him. The vault spoke. Guardian accepted. Defense system unlocked. Pillars rose from the floor. Weapons unfolded from the walls. Ancient drones. Powered on? Ziva smiled. They came for a girl. Jace nodded. Let's show them a legend. Asterisk Jace didn't feel like the same man anymore. The vault's crystal was still glowing behind him. The weapons now folded into his skin like they were part of him all along. His right arm pulsed with thin blue lines and his eyes could see through the mountain walls. He stood at the edge of the cliff with wind roaring in his ears, but inside, he felt calm. 3 black hunter ships landed near the base. Ziva held Leary close behind a rock outcrop, watching in silence. They brought plasma blades, she whispered. The Soren do that when they want to take someone alive. Jace narrowed his eyes. Then they're leaving disappointed. Ziva stepped beside him. You're changing. I know, Jace said. It's not just adrenaline. It's the vault. It's her. She woke something inside me. Or maybe Ziva said quietly. It was always there, buried, waiting. The hunters moved in fast. 5 of them, each wrapped in dark armor, carrying net rifles and neural spears. Their leader walked slowly, scanning the area with a red lens. Guardian Jace, the leader, called out. You are not one of us. You were built to protect the key, not to wield it. He stepped into view. I'm not your machine, he said. I'm her father. The leader raised his hand. Stand down. Hand over the girl. Harmed. Jace smiled. I'm not pretending anymore. You'll have to go through me. He raised his arm, and the air shimmered. A shield formed around him, pure energy humming in the wind. One of the hunters fired. The plasma blast hit the shield and bounced back, hitting a stone wall behind. Xavier whispered, That's royal tech. Took a step forward, then launched. His body moved like it had trained for war since birth. He dashed between 2 hunters, striking one in the chest with a pulse shock. The hunter dropped without a sound. Another one came from behind. Jace turned, caught the blade, crushed the handle. His mind was clear. His hands knew what to do. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid. Ziva pulled Leary deeper into the cave tunnel. Can't stay here. The vault is going to collapse once it completes the lockout. Why? Leary asked softly. To protect you, she said. That's what these places were made for, to hide power from the wrong hands. Behind them, the crystal flickered. With light, a new message formed above it, Triton, in symbols only Leary could read. She stared at it. What does it say? Ziva asked. Leary turned. He's not alone. Ziva blinked. What do you mean? Leary pointed to the vault walls. There are more guardians, like him. Igza's breath caught, and they're waking up. Leary nodded, because he called them outside. Jace faced the hunter leader alone now. The rest had fallen. The leader had drawn a blade shaped like a claw, and his armor glowed deep red. You don't know what she is, he growled. You think she's a child? She's the last bloodline.
Oh.
She was created to unlock the Star Forge. I don't care, Jace said. She's my daughter. That's all I need to know. They fought like 2 storms crashing. Steel met energy. Fire lit the mountain edge. Jace blocked a final strike. Then used the power in his palm to release a sonic wave. The hunter flew backward, armor cracking, blade shattered. Jace walked to him, stepped on the weapon, and said, "Go back. Tell them the key is not theirs." He has a family now? Inside the vault, the mountains started to shake. Ziva shouted, "It's collapsing. We need to move." Jace ran in, lifted Leary in one arm, held Ziva's hand in the other, and sprinted toward the outer path. Behind them, the entrance fell in. Dust and stone sealed the old world away. They made it to the smuggler's ship just in time. Hacks had kept it running, waiting in the clouds. The ship took off, rising into the stars once more. In the quiet of the upper deck, Jace sat beside Leary, brushing her hair as she slept. Ziva leaned against the wall, watching both of them. "She's safe because of you," she said. Jace didn't look up. "I'm not who I thought I was." "No," Ziva said, walking closer. "You're more." He turned to her, and this time he didn't hold back. "I'm not just pretending anymore. I want to stay with her, with you." Ziva smiled and reached for his hand. "Then don't pretend. Just be." Far beyond them, in a hidden part of space, ancient signals began to blink. Other vaults, other guardians, and in the center of a dark galaxy. An old machine opened one glowing eye. Something was waking up, but this time, Key had a father, and the war would not go the same way again. Jace stood under the twin moons of Ariznine, staring at the girl who once called him a stranger. Now she called him Dad. Leary was dancing barefoot in the silver grass, chasing a light drone that blinked like a firefly. Her laughter rose into the night air. Iva sat nearby on a blanket, wrapping a warm scarf around her shoulders. The warships were gone, the hunters defeated. For now there was peace. Jace never thought he would feel something like this again, not after the loneliness. Not after living a life of fixing machines and sleeping under humming lights. But now he wasn't fixing things. He was building something, eh? Family? It had been 3 weeks since the vault on Braxel 3 collapsed. News of the Guardian awakening had spread across back channels and the stars. Some feared it, others celebrated, but none dared follow. Jace's name now appeared in hidden records. The human guardian, protector chosen by something older than any government, and with that title came responsibility. The smuggler hacks helped them reach Ariznine, a peaceful moon known for its healing plants and underground bunkers. Safe, remote, quiet, here. Leary could play like a normal child. Ziva could rest, and Jace could breathe. One morning, Ziva handed him a wrapped cloth. "Open it." Inside was a small cube made of polished crystal and old wires. Jace frowned. "What is this?" Ziva said. "From the original lab from your father." Jace hesitated, then placed his hand on the cube. It blinked once, then projected an image, a human man in a white coat with kind eyes. "If you're seeing this, my son, then you found her," the man said. Girl born to end the silence. Jace sat down slowly. "You were never an accident," the message continued. "You were placed where war could not reach you. But the day would come when her powers woke up, and she'd need you. Not just as a weapon, but as a father." The image faded. Ziva sat beside him in silence. Jace closed his eyes. He knew everything. Even this moment, Eva touched his hand, and still chose to give you the chance to love. Later that evening, Leary crawled into Jace's lap, tired from playing. She looked up at him. "Are you leaving again?" she asked. He smiled. "No, I'm staying. For as long as you want. Want forever," she said sleepily. Ziva watched. Then from the kitchen corner, heart soft. She had run her whole life, fled cities, hunters, patrols. But now, in this quiet little home beneath the moons, she had stopped running. She had found something she'd never thought possible. She found home, but peace wasn't the end. One night, a ship landed quietly on the outskirts of their settlement. No alarms, no weapons. Just one messenger, an old alien woman wearing robes of midnight blue. She handed Jace a scroll made of glowing threads. Ziva opened it. "It's a call," she said softly, "from the Vault Council. They want to meet the child." and the guardian looked at Leary, who was busy drawing stars on the wall with her fingers, they say. Ziva added, "She is the chosen one to speak at the star gathering, to decide the future of Vaultkind." Jace didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, "Then we go, but as a family." The journey back into the stars was not filled with fear anymore. Leary stood tall beside her parents. Ziva dressed in her old royal sash, no longer hiding her bloodline. Jace wore the mark of the Guardian on his wrist, burned into his skin during the last vault defense. He never asked for it, but now he bore it proudly. When they arrived at the gathering hall, hundreds of species stood in silence as the little girl with silver eyes walked forward. Holding the hands of both her mother and father, she spoke with a calm voice. "I am not just a key. I am a child. I am not just a weapon. I am a daughter, and I will not be used by anyone." There was no applause, just quiet respect, because in that moment, she wasn't the child who needed protection. She was the future. They had all forgotten that night, after the council agreed to let her live free. Jace sat outside their new quarters and stared at the stars. Ziva sat beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. "She saved all of us," she said. Jace smiled. "No. She just reminded us what we forgot." "And what's that?" He wrapped an arm around her. "That love is the only power worth protecting." Inside, Leary was drawing again. But this time she drew a picture of 3 figures: a woman, a man, and a child standing hand in hand under 2 moons. She added a small line at the top. "My family, forever." And that's what they became. Not because of war, not because of blood, but because sometimes the people you never expected to meet become the ones you can never live without.